FBI Director Patel also touted these global partnerships that and all that effort it took internationally in order to get Brian Wedding into custody. He said it took a united front. He touted working with agencies and law enforcement officials, both in the United States as well as Mexico, as well as Canada. How do you think the global partnerships here that Patel described, how do you think that impacts this case?
Well, Brittany, that was the best part of this story to me is to seeing law enforcement across jurisdictions in the United States, Canada, and Mexico working together for one purpose. And that we have not seen that in the past. Now, obviously, there's different legal systems and restrictions on every law enforcement agency out there, but we've seen a political overlay in many years where law enforcement hasn't cooperated for political reasons. And also differences in our punishments. Some countries not wanting to cooperate with the U.S. unless we agree not to have the death penalty on the table. So these things have kind of hampered the ability of law enforcement to go after someone and provide refuge in other countries. So to see that level of cooperation, where in the recent history we have not between three countries, that is the kind of the more positive element of it. And I would hope that that kind of love fest here works, because when we do have a fugitive on the run, they need to be brought to justice, and they'll have their day in court, and not seek and obtain refuge in a different country.
And if I'm Ryan Wedding's legal team, what am I thinking exactly about that love fest? Am I thinking, oh no, not only does the United States think my client is a fugitive, also Canada does, as well as Mexico? Or am I thinking, it might be harder for them to get evidence from across country lines? What does that really look like?
Well, sure. So, if this is proven to be this vast international criminal enterprise, the U.S. is saying, hey, we want a piece of him for the things that he did within the United States. But I got to think Canada and Mexico might also feel that way. And this might have been part of a negotiation for cooperation between these jurisdictions to saying, okay, who gets to go first? Sometimes, some country will say, hey, I'll cooperate, but I want this guy first in Canada or something here. So there's some opportunities, though. Maybe there's a deal eventually made where he goes to Canada and serves his time there. So there's kind of some opportunities across these even for Ryan, trying to get to answer your question. It's like Ryan can take advantage potentially saying, okay, maybe I take a deal, but I do my time in Canada. I don't know that the U.S. would agree to it, but maybe there's an opportunity for him there. I think the risk for him is that we have now Mexico willing to cooperate, where apparently Ryan has been for some time and operating out of, and there would be evidence there in terms of witnesses and documents in Mexico that could be used to prosecute him in the United States, that with cooperation, if it continues, is going to be able to be produced against him in a way that maybe couldn't have been a year or two ago.
Obviously, we are at the very beginning phases here of the legal process. He's in US custody. There's still a lot to look out for, but what specifically are you looking out for next?
Well, I would be wanting to see the evidence that's presented against him. We've seen one of the witnesses allegedly murdered. Will there be lingering fear of other witnesses to come forward, and what protections could be given to those witnesses so they can testify? Even though he's behind bars, doesn't mean he doesn't still lead this organization. We've seen that with other kingpins. So I would think like, okay, fine, we have him in custody, we have an indictment, but what witnesses are actually going to show up and testify? And he has a right of confrontation in the United States. So he's going to have to know who his accusers are, who these witnesses are. So I think that's what I would like to see. And then the defense, sometimes they'll say, hey, we're not going to waive time. They have a right to a speedy trial, and that is very risky. But would the defense say, hey, you made these charges, we're going, not going to waive any time, we're going to go to trial very quickly? Or are they going to take their time to develop a defense, but now again, they're giving the prosecution more time to put their case on? So these initial moves are what I'm going to be looking out for.
Well, we will keep our eye out as well. Chris Melcher, thank you so much. You're welcome back anytime.
Thanks, Brittany.